Hello, everyone. This is Dorie Clark, and I am here with Newsweek's weekly interview show, Better. And our special guest this week is Marcus Buckingham. He is the author of the new book, Love and Work. The subtitle is How to Find What You Love What You Do, and Do It for the Rest of Your Life, which sounds like an excellent value proposition. Marcus Buckingham, so glad to have you here.
Thanks, Dorie. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Well, it's great to be here with you. And for all of those who are tuning in live, please feel free to type into the chat box and let us know who you are, where you are dialing in from. And of course, throughout the course of our conversation, we will be taking your questions for Marcus Buckingham. So we want to hear more about this. So Marcus, my first question for you, let's start in the beginning here. The subtitle of your book is How to Find What You Love, which of course is the starting place for a lot of people. They're really not sure. We've of course been told, find your passion. We'd love to hear your thoughts about that. But how does one even begin to figure out the process of how to find indeed what you love?
Well, first of all, I mean, my background is I'm a psychometrician, so I figure out ways to try to measure things about people that are really important, but that you can't count. So you can count sales or lost work days or accidents on the job, but what about talent? What about strengths, engagement, resilience? That's what I've spent almost 25 years doing. When you study people that are really successful at what they do, whether it's doctors or lawyers or salespeople, housekeepers, nurses, you don't actually find that they do what they love. So there's absolutely no data at all that says the most successful people do all that they love. It sounds good, find what you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life again, but there's no data backing that up at all. What you do find, though, is that the most successful people in any role that you would care to study, if you look at the people, you do a study group, contrast group, and you study the people that are really, really good at what they do find certain aspects of what they do that they love. They don't love everything, but they find every day certain moments, situations, contexts, people, interactions. They find the love in what they do. That is a much more achievable and realistic aim than saying find your passion and do all that you love. No, find those activities, moments, situations, contexts in any particular day that you love. Research out of the Mayo Clinic suggests, by the way, it's 20%. 20% is a really good threshold. Those doctors and nurses that all the way through the pandemic did not burn out, and there were thousands of them who were not depleted by the whole experience. When you actually look at what percentage of their day do they find things that they love, it's 20%. Now, below 20%, 19, 18, 17, 16, you're in trouble. But above 20%, you get to 30, 50, 70%. There's no actual increase in resilience. It's almost like 20% is a really good threshold. Above that, a little love every day goes an awfully long way. So that's the first thing that we know from all the research, is that you can find love in what you do. And the clues to that, well, there's three obvious ones. There are more than three, but these are the three really powerful ones that any 11-year-old can do. I mean, unfortunately, no one all the way through school, all the way through college, all the way through work, no one helps you do this, but there are three really, really good clues for you. The first is, in the course of a day, what do you find yourself instinctively looking forward to, instinctively volunteering for? So your natural instincts towards something are a really good clue. No one has yours but you. So you're the only one that knows what you lean into. Second, of course, is what Mike Csikszentmihalyi called flow. So when you're doing some activities, time seems to fly by. And what feels like 5 minutes, you look up and it's been an hour. So that those things that you're doing when the steps fall away and you're not really doing the thing, you are the thing. You vanish into the thing that you're doing, whether it's a moment of confrontation with a guest or whether it's a moment of care for a patient or whether it's balancing the books. I mean, everyone's got different things they vanish into, but that's a great clue. And then the third one is that feeling of mastery. So when you're done with it, you don't feel depleted. You feel, well, invigorated. You feel strengthened by it. You might not be quite ready to saddle up and do it again right away, but you feel up and full, not drained. So those three clues, if you woke up every day, rather than going, what's my passion, which is a super intimidatingly big question, rather than that, maybe wake up every day, and rather than thinking that your life is something to get through, maybe you wake up every day going, okay, I'm going to look for certain things that I can love today. And life is actually trying to put on a show for me. Life's not the enemy. Life's actually my best friend, trying to show me thousands of different sort of situations, moments, contexts, things. And some of them are a little up, a little down, but some of them have those three clues to them. And what we know is the most successful people in all sorts of different professions are super diligent in looking every day for that which they love.
That's such a great point. Thank you very much. We're here with Marcus Buckingham. He is the author of the new book, Love and Work. And we're talking today about how to love what you do and how to figure out what that is. I know I love the point that you make, Marcus, that searching for what your passion is a really intimidating pursuit. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It can paralyze a lot of people. I have a concept that I talk about called optimize for interesting, because it's a lot easier to figure out what's interesting as compared to what your passion is in life. So I think that's a great point.
And these things start, I mean, it's fun. Oh, Dorie, you'd think that, you'd think that really early in life. I mean, I was working with my daughter the other day. She's like 16 at the time. And obviously during the pandemic, many parents got sort of turned into quasi teachers. And she was saying, what's the difference between a rhombus and a parallelogram? And I remember thinking, A, I don't know. And B, somebody spent a really long time, 10 years. They put my daughter through 10 years of geometry because someone decided that geometry is a really, really important thing for her and every other kid to know a lot about. So there are rules and there's language and there's rituals and there's practices, there's tests. And she's now got sort of dipped in geometry for 10 years, which is fine. I'm a big fan of numbers, but no one has devoted any time at all to her. So what does she find interesting, to your point? What are her patterns of attention? What does she pick up on that no one else seems to? What are the stuff that intrigues her that might actually make her an exception or an outlier to what everyone else is intrigued by? What are her instincts? Where does time fly by for her? How would you talk about that? How would you share that with a team member if you were just joining a team? All that stuff that you might call self-mastery. There's nothing, like zero. And then she goes to college and there's zero there too, nothing. And then of course, when you join the working world actually wants my daughter and every other graduate to have self-mastery so that they can actually be intelligent choosers of which role, which sort of career path, which sort of contribution. The working world would want that. They get none of that. and so it's a strange thing to think that, as you said, sort of optimized for interesting. Well, we could start doing that with a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old. And the working world, who's sort of the place that then these folks sort of move into, would love that. And we don't do any of it. And then we wonder why everyone's on Adderall and Xanax,
So true. Absolutely. We're here with Marcus Buckingham. We also want to say hello to some of the great folks who are tuning in from around the world. Thank you for joining us on our weekly Newsweek interview show, Better. We want to say hi to Cheryl from Minneapolis, St. Paul. Brandy's here from Spokane. Yasmin is tuning in from France. Adedoyan is here. Paula is from Milwaukee. Carolyn from Cary, North Carolina. We've got Servan from Istanbul. Sue Lynn from Seattle. Sushma from India. Janet from Syracuse. Anna Maria is here from Canada, from St. Albert. We have Gal from New York and New Jersey, Sasanka from Sri Lanka, and many more. We're really glad to have all of you. And please feel free to type your questions for Marcus Buckingham into the chat box. We're talking about his new book, Love and Work. Now, Marcus, one thing that you are known for, you've been known for over the years, you've written a number of other books about this, is about finding and optimizing your strengths. And, of course, the frame before, you in many ways work to popularize this is that a lot of people still focus on, correcting their weakness, fixing their weakness. Can you talk about strengths and weaknesses and how that actually factors in to finding the work you love and loving the work that you do?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, biology loves variety. So one of the most defining characteristics of every human being who's listening to this show and in the world more broadly is how varied we are. And not varied in terms of gender or race or age or sexual orientation or religion, but just in terms of the difference between you and your sister or you and your brother. By the time you're 19 years old, you have as many synaptic connections in your brain as there are stars in 5,000 Milky Ways. That is the sheer massive volume and the filigreed precision of your uniqueness. And then as you grow, because yes, you do grow and your brain has certain sort of neuroplasticity during the course of your life. But we know actually that the choice in life isn't growth or no growth. It's not like you have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. That's actually a false dichotomy. We all know people grow. The question is, where will you grow the most? And what we know from brain science is you grow more synaptic connections in those parts of your brain where you have the most pre-existing synaptic connections, where you have the infrastructure for synaptic growth, the blood vessels, the alpha integrin proteins. The way that nature grows is she follows the path of least resistance. And so for every one of you who are listening, or for me, or for you, Dorie, by the time you're 19, you've got this incredibly unique pattern of synaptic connections. B, as you grow, you don't rewire your brain and become somebody else. There's a you in there that's completely, utterly, totally unique. The Norse had a lovely word for it. They called it your weird, not you're weird as an adjective, but WYRD. You have a weird, which is like a spirit or a daimon or a you-ness that's in there, not caused by the traumas growing up, not caused by your biography growing up, not caused by anything other than the clash of the chromosomes. But you turned out really different than your brother and your sister. And when we think about growth, we shouldn't really be thinking about trying to rewire your brain and turn you into somebody else. That doesn't work. We should thinking about instead, well, where have you got some natural orientation? Where have you got some natural advantage? Where, to your point, do you find some things just instinctively interesting? Some things you instinctively lean into? Let's have you have a language to talk about that. Let's give you some clues to figure out what those are, because that's where you'll learn and grow and develop the most. That's where your contribution lies. And what that, of course, means is that a strength isn't what you're good at, and a weakness isn't what you're bad at. I know we say that, but all of us have things that we're really, really good at that we hate. And when I'm saying that, no one listening right now is going, what's he talking about? Everyone has the experience of like, I got an A in that class, but if I had to do it again, I mean, it'd be a cold day in hell that I'd want to do it again. We've all got some stuff where because we're diligent or organized or luck or intelligence, we're good at it, but we hate it. What's that? It's not a strength. We should call that a weakness. Proper definition of a weakness is any activity that weakens you, even if you're good at it. Proper definition of a strength is any activity that strengthens you, even if you're not good at it yet. So in a sense, these loves of yours, those thickest patterns of synaptic connection that lead you to pay attention to some things. Time flies by when you're doing them. These are, I actually call them your red threads. If you think about the day is a fabric of many, many different threads, many different activities, moments, situations. Some are white, some are black, some are gray, some are brown. They lift you up a little, down a little, but some of them are these red threads. And as that Mayo Clinic research shows, it's like, if you could have a day of, you don't need a fully red quilt. You can just have 20% red threads. But if you can look for these red threads, these are the building blocks for those things that you love to do, those things that strengthen you, activities that lift you up. Those are your strengths. And if you want to grow in life, you want to make a great contribution, you will grow most, learn most, develop the most. You're most attractive to other people. You learn names better. You pick out emotions better when you are playing to your particular strengths, which are those red threads. Now, weaknesses, all right, look, you got to do some of them. Absolutely. But of course, in business, we end up calling your weaknesses your areas of opportunity. And then people are supposed to give you feedback where they tell you how to fix your weaknesses. And that's supposed to be a good thing. Of course, it isn't. It's pernicious, arrogant. Feedback towards your weakness is basically people saying, you'd be much better if only you were more like me. Okay, none of that's right. It all basically smothers at you with other people. So your greatest opportunity for growth, just like mine, figure out where your red threads are, really own them because you know them better than anyone else. And then you're trying to weave them into contribution all the way through your career. That's how you grow. That's how you thrive.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Thank you very much. We're here with Marcus Buckingham. He is the author of the new book, Love and Work. You can learn more at loveandwork.org. The subtitle is How to Find What You Love what you do, and do it for the rest of your life. And if you are enjoying this conversation, please hit the like button and the share button so that your friends can benefit from it as well. And we wanted to say hi to some of the great folks tuning in from around the world. We're really glad to have all of you here. Mahendra is here from India. Gerald from South Carolina. Esmeralda's tuning in from Pennsylvania. Roger from Berlin. Andrea is here from Boston, Adele from the UAE, Japar from Basel, Michelle's tuning in from California, Kadir from Pakistan, Barb is joining us, Derek from Atlanta. Hey, Michelle, we've got Nana here, we've got Luis from Mexico, and we've got Ramaneswara from India. We are really glad to welcome all of you, and please type in your questions for Marcus Buckingham. We had a great one, Marcus, that came in from Erica. And she wants to know, when you see someone that's consistently trying to just like make it work in roles that are not right for them, and they're just not even sure what lights them up, what are the questions that you might ask, maybe if you were a coach, or if you're just, if you're a manager, if you're a good friend, to help them get unstuck around this? Do you have thoughts about that?
The simplest thing you can do, I mean, the beautiful thing about saying that a strength is what strengthens you and a weakness is what weakens you, is that you're the best judge of your strengths and your weaknesses. No one else is. It's one of the tragedies of most education systems, is that we deliberately, it's not like your strengths and your loves and passions are irrelevant to your studies as a student. It's actually that your unique loves and your unique strengths are an impediment to what people are trying to teach you in school. And then, of course, you go to work and you've got lists of competencies or lists of skills you're supposed to have. And then people do performance appraisals where they rate you against those models. And success for you at work is, of course, how closely you match the model, not how intelligently you've cultivated your unique loves and turned them into real strengths. So unfortunately, for most of us, the reason why we've got such low levels of employee engagement, 16, 17% people fully engaged, is because school and work, you don't just get lost in the middle of all that. You get hidden, deliberately hidden, which is part of the reason why work isn't working for us. So many of us do have friends or colleagues who we see somebody just trying to do something again and again. And you realize that that person has been separated from themselves. They don't really have any way at all to sort of stop the noise of other people's well-meaning feedback and actually just start to inventory their own interests, their own understandings, their own loves. The simplest way you can help them, other than getting a mindset shift. So you're saying to the person, hey, you're the wisest person in your world. Stop listening to anyone else. You know what you're drawn into and what you're not. You know what your patterns of attention are. You know what the things are that you instinctively volunteer. Stop the shouting and listen to your weird. So that's the first sort of mindset shift. But the second is give them a blank pad. Draw a line down the middle of it. Put loved it at the top of one column and loathed it at the top of the other column. I mean, seriously, by the way, if you haven't done this, you should try this yourselves too, because it's like no one's ever really basically said to you, use the raw material of a regular week of your life to help you decode what your true loves are, the specific red threads are. But if you gave that pad to your friend and you just said to them, hey, look, take this around with you for a week. And anytime you see one of the three signs of love, anytime you find yourself instinctively looking forward to something, even if it's the smallest 5-minute little thing, or anytime you find yourself when time flies by, anytime you find yourself or when you're done with it, you actually feel up, not down. And not up as in, thank goodness that's over, but like a sense of mastery. Scribble that down. And anytime you find the inverse, where you're procrastinating it, or you're trying to hand it off to the new guy, or the time slows down and it's a sludge, write that down and then loathed it. And then if you really want to be a coach to your friend, have them then sit down with you at the end of the week and see what's in the loved it column. And hopefully at that point, they will have got some things from their regular week that are real for them. Just start there. Stuff that you love. Love lives in the detail. It's not 30,000 feet. It's what were you doing at 9:10 on a Tuesday? What was that thing that you love? What is that? And you can go down that loved it list. And what a beautifully powerful place to start. Because wherever somebody wants to go, you've got to start with where you're at. And so to use the raw material of a week to go, hey, your red threads are right in front of your face. If you would but stop the noise and listen, your life's trying to speak to you. And so that kind of loved it, loathed it activity, which, by the way, a 10-year-old, if you got kids, any of you got kids, your kids can do this. And yet no one ever does, but try it. It's so beautifully revealing for you. And it would be beautifully revealing for your friend too, as a place to start, so that he or she can have a language to start talking about what are the things that I am bumping into in my day or my week that actually do have those signs of love. That's where you start.
Really helpful. Thank you very much. We're here with Marcus Buckingham. He is the author of the new book, Love and Work. You can learn more at loveandwork.org. And if you're enjoying this conversation, you can make sure that you never miss an episode. We are here at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific every Thursday for Newsweek. You can follow me on LinkedIn at dorieclark.com/LI. You can sign up to follow me and subscribe to my LinkedIn newsletter. And that way you will get weekly reminders about our guests. And in the meantime, we also wanted to say hi to some of the great folks tuning in from around the world. Eddie is here from the Netherlands. Yvonne is here from Mexico. Stephanie from California. Isabel from Cape Verde. We have a lot of great folks. Anna from New Hampshire is joining us. Samantha from Toronto. Henry from Oakland. Hélène from Queens. Barbara from Arkansas. Mustafa from Egypt. And Angeliki from Madrid. And VJ from Louisiana, Gina from Florida. We are so glad to have all of you here. Welcome. You can type your questions for Marcus Buckingham into the chat box. And a question that came in, Marcus, that I think is great. Cheryl from Minneapolis wants to know, if someone only had 15 minutes today, let's say they're busy, they've got this job that, maybe they don't necessarily love, that they're very, very busy with, but they have 15 minutes today to take a step toward loving what they do. What would you suggest under those circumstances?
Well, it depends what job you're in. If you're if you're a manager, the best use of 15 minutes, if you're a manager of somebody, is, and this is, every manager is different. You study the world's best managers, and of course they're idiosyncratic in terms of how they do what they do, but they do all seem to share the same ritual. Every single really, really good team leader checks in with each of their people for 15 minutes every week, one-on-one. And they just ask two questions. What did you love and loathe last week? And then what are you working on this week? How can I help? So if any of you are listening are managers, like, what's the secret to getting the best out of people? Check in with each of your people for 15 minutes every week for 52 weeks. If that sounds boring to you, don't lead people. Because that is what leading is. You are doing short-term past, short-term future, short-term past, short-term future, 15 minutes one-on-one with each of your people. And if some of you are thinking, well, like, I'd love to do that, but I've got too many people, then you've got too many people. It's like in the whole debate of what's the perfect span of control. It's not span of control, it's span of attention. In all the debates, certainly in this country, about why nurses and doctors have suffered so much during the pandemic, and there's a lot of reasons, but what no one's talked about is that the average nurse supervisor to nurse ratio in this country is 1 to 60, because that makes good financial sense. It actually makes zero human sense. That poor nurse supervisor can't check in for 15 minutes with 60 nurses every week. And so she or he can't see what's going on in those people's lives, can't see what they love or what they loathe, can't see how to help them grow, can't see how to give them support or help, can't do any of it. And that's why right now, certainly in this country, we have such a chronic nursing shortage. They're all leaving because most hospitals, sadly, are deeply inhuman places for the people giving the care. So if you're a manager, use the 15 minutes to check in with each of your people. People don't want feedback. They want attention, frequent, light touch attention toward who they are, what they're doing, and how you can help them each week. If you're an individual, the simplest way you could use 15 minutes today is to write down three, in the book I called them love notes because I couldn't think of another word for it, but try this. Try 3 sentences that start with the phrase, I love it when. And then after the word when has to be a verb that you're doing. I love it when what? Not somebody's doing to you. I love it when people praise me. No. I love it when I what? What are you doing? It's amazing how inarticulate so many of us are in describing that which we love. We can't even talk about, let alone try to get better in a day. We can't even talk about what it is that we love. Or we get vague and like, I love helping people. Okay, yeah. Now push on that. Which people? What are you doing with the people? What sort of help are you providing? Does it matter when? Does it matter what? Does it matter why? So try to write 3 vivid, super beautifully vivid love notes to yourself. Share them with no one to start with. But can you write 3 from today? I love it when what? And don't be vague. Be specific and vivid, just like love is. Love is in the details, isn't it? So for you, use 15 minutes to stop the wind whipping past your ears and go, I'm going to write 3 love notes to myself that are true. And that when I look at them, I go, you know what? That is my life speaking to me in a love language that only I understand. Just try it. Because the most powerful way to begin any sort of future growth is to really own where you are right now.
That's perfect. We're here with Marcus Buckingham, the author of the new book, Love and Work. You can check it out and learn more at loveandwork.org. And Marcus, we also wanted to just make sure we're saying hi to the great folks tuning in. Jason is here. Jeff is here. Laura from Maryland. We have Annette from Southern California. We have Dia from Algiers. Lindsay is from Springfield, Missouri. Nathaniel's tuning in from Austin. Hey, Nathaniel. We've got a lot of great folks. Bernhard is here from Munich. We have India from Orange County. Maria Victoria is from Miami. Gail is from Miami. Emily is tuning in from Georgia. And Nigel from Wimbledon, UK. George from Columbus, Ohio. We love having all of you. Thank you for tuning in with our weekly Newsweek interview show, Better. I'm Dorie Clark. We're here with author Marcus Buckingham. And Marcus, Anna has a question. She is curious if people are, this is great. She wants to create an addictive workplace. If you're the boss, how do you create a place that people are just thrilled? They can't even stay away from it because it is so awesome to be there. Do you have thoughts about how to potentially create something like that?
Well, it's difficult to generalize about that because every person is different in terms of what they want. But what we do know about humans, I mean, the two biggest things that we want when we go to work, the most powerful one is to be seen. I want a workplace where somebody's deeply interested in that which I love and how I can contribute it. I don't want to be a cog in a machine. I'm sick of being a person who's forced to conform. I think that's what a lot of us, by the way, Dorie, are coming out of the pandemic going, I think work, whether it's the Great Resignation, the Great Reassessment, is that really real? Are people just hopping from one company to another and they're going to pop up and go, oh, it's the same darn company, really? So some of that may be happening, but what most of us do want now that the pandemic has forced upon us is a workplace that sees us for unique, full human beings that we are. Get rid of these stupid performance ratings because I'm not a number. I'm a full human being. So that's the first thing. Can you make it a place where you're saying to each person coming and joining, we will take the time to try to get to know you in terms of everything that you bring to us. Second, teams. Humans work best on teams. If you run correlations to engagement, to attrition, to resilience, what's the characteristic that most explains why people stay, why they are engaged? It's, am I working on a team? 50,000 years ago, we discovered teams. We discovered that each person is unique, and the best way to make a home for weirdly unique people is to create a team. These days, of course, we talk about teams as though they're the opposite of individualization. We say there's no I in team. The point of a team, apparently, is that you're not as important as the team. Okay, that is a complete misunderstanding of how and why we built teams. Teams make homes for individuals. So if you want to build a super addictive workplace, you'll center it on teams where each person on the team isn't well-rounded. There's no competency model or cascaded goals or skills that everyone's supposed to have as though everyone's supposed to be well-rounded. No. The team's well-rounded precisely because each person on it isn't well-rounded. If you can build teams like that, by the way, the verb I think for this year will be teaming. How do you get people to be able to turn to one another when they're not maybe in the same physical location and say, hey, this is where you can rely on me the most. This is what I love to do the most. Not this is where I'm the best, but this is where I'm at my best. And by the way, this is where I'm going to need to lean on you. This is where I'm a deer in the headlights. This is where I need help. That kind of clarity of not all my threads are red. In other words, I got these red threads and I got these where I need help. That if you could build a workplace like that, where people have that kind of trust and that kind of ability to share who they are and how they can lean into one another. Wow, that's where work can be the most amazing 40 or 50 hours a week, as opposed to what it usually is for many of us, which is a draining, debilitating experience.
That's so true. We have been here with Marcus Buckingham. He is the author of the new book, Love and Work. It's how to find what you love what you do, and do it for the rest of your life. If you want to learn more, you can go to loveandwork.org. We want to say thanks to all the wonderful friends tuning in. Chita Ranjan joined us from India. We have Adelina from Mexico, Carlos from Colombia, and Marcos from Brazil, among many others. Thank you all for your great questions. And Marcus Buckingham, thank you especially for tuning in to join us today.
My pleasure, Dorie. Really enjoyed it. Loved
Thank
it.
you, everyone. It's great to be here, and we'll see you next week.